America, it's time for some straight talk. You love your phone. Look at you. You hardly put it down. But you don't love that expensive wireless plan, do you? So what if I told you can keep that phone network and number 2 for a lot less? Well, this is me telling you, it's time to switch to Straight Talk, guys. Bring your own phone and get unlimited plans starting at just $45 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
With Mike Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny here on Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, as we are presented in part by Progressive Insurance. And Golic, it is game week for you, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah,
you got a big week, Coach.
I do have a big week, but before that, you're flipping your days, huh?
Normally, yeah. The alarm went off this morning. Normally the time that I am going to bed. For people who don't know, I do nights here on ESPN Radio with Freddie Coleman on Freddie and Fitz from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Central Time. Eastern Time. And so normally I'm getting to bed right around 3:15 Eastern, and the alarm goes off right around the time that normally I'm looking at the back of my eyelids. Little body clock flip.
You swore, didn't you, when you got up? You swore,
First time I did this show with you was, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and you said the same word after, at the time, 16 years of doing this show.
Yeah.
The first word out of your mouth every morning is the same word.
It's a bad word, and it's a naughty word. But
that was the first word this morning,
That's
yes,
exactly
without
right.
question. Without question, that was the first word that came out of my mouth.
Always good to have you here. Enjoy doing the show with you. And, it's a big week. Jake, my son Jake, and his fiancée Jenny Facillo, they get married Saturday at Notre Dame, at the Basilica at Notre Dame, and then the reception there at the Morrison. So it's a week. It's a culmination. And just listen, you've been through it. I've been through it, the marriage thing, all the planning that goes into it. And you try and tell them both, especially, the bride, which does so much more of the planning than the groom. At least it was in my case, and I'm sure it was in your case.
Kidding?
I mean, the smartest thing you do is you just give them the power to do whatever they want. And I told Jake that at an early age, just let her do what she needs to do. And telling her, just enjoy, because, man, it is going to be over. I mean, we are going to get to Notre Dame. She's been planning this for forever, and then, boom, it's going to be done. You're going to be married, and you're like, where the hell did that go? It's all done.
The best advice I have for any groom-to-be is if you are assigned anything from your bride-to-be, screw it up. Mess it up to the nth
Early
degree,
on.
yes. And therefore, she will never ask you to do anything else in the wedding process. So it sounds like Jake followed that rule very well and maybe just stayed off to the side.
Jake got involved when he felt he needed to, but for the most part, yes, he just backed away. I know, obviously, Jenny's mom, Carolyn, was very involved. My wife was involved. I was not.
Checks.
Listen, I did it like my marriage. I just kind of stayed in the background and said, yes, that looks great. Oh, that's fantastic. I've never seen anything better than that. My God, that's beautiful. Let's get going.
Or when Chris, your bride Chris says to you, which one do you like better?
She didn't even ask me that anymore. We're well past that. Yeah, we're past
Not even
that.
holding one thing up. Like, no, done.
She may think about it for a moment and then say, why am I asking him? I don't care. I'm kidding, hon. I'm just kidding. But no, it's going to be a cool week. I really, she's a great girl, so really looking forward to having her as part of the family, and they're a great family as well. Dad's a ball coach, so I mean,
nice.
It's very cool. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. First wedding in the Golic house.
Speaking of ball, we'll get into some football coming up bottom half of the hour as some former NFL players, current NFL players, still complaining about what they make compared to NBA and to another degree Major League Baseball players.
Where's ours? They're all saying.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that coming up in about 25 minutes here on Mike and Mike here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Right now, let's get to
Off the Top.
After hitting a record 61 homers to win last year's home run derby, Giancarlo Stanton, Mr. Golic, is back to defend his crown in his home park.
So there are 8 home run derby contestants in this, and how disappointed are we going to be? We shouldn't be, but we will, if one of the winners isn't Stanton or Judge. Everybody is looking forward. Stanton's the number 1 seed. Judge is the number 2 seed. If they meet, it'll be in the final, so that'll be the last at-bats of the night. I think everybody's going to be disappointed if it's not one of these guys who both, by the way, could play tight end in the NFL easily, maybe some defensive end in the NFL. I'm stealing from my son this morning, but talking about the defensive end for Aaron Judge. But they easily could be tight ends. I mean, these guys are mammoth human beings. And what is better than watching mammoth human beings swing a stick to knock a ball over the fence? I mean, what's better than that?
I stood next to or near Stanton a couple of years ago, and I had no idea. He is every bit of 6'7" and jacked.
Oh, I stood and interviewed him a couple of years ago before the home run derby, or I forget when it was, but right next to the guy. He actually was on the same team as Dane Christ, who was a teammate of my son Mike's at Notre Dame. Dane was one of the top quarterbacks coming out of the country, out of California, and his high school teammate was Stanton, who was a wide receiver and tight end then. And this dude was massive, and Judge is even bigger. I mean, taller and heavier.
Like 270.
He's 6'7", like he's listed at 282. He probably isn't that now, but I mean, it's ridiculous. So, we'll see. I mean, and overall, home runs it's been crazy what's going on in the league right now as far as home runs are concerned. They're on a pace to just smash the record for home runs. Overall for baseball in the season, but really looking forward to this home run derby tonight.
You mentioned if one of those two doesn't win the home run derby tonight, I would say if they're not actually in the finals against each other, we will be disappointed.
Yep, I would agree.
It's not Stanton versus Judge.
Off the top.
Clayton Kershaw became the third pitcher in the last 15 seasons to win 14 games before the All-Star break. Dodgers won for the 13th straight time that he took the mound. Wood has also been dominant as a starting pitcher for the Dodgers, but what Kershaw is doing right now is just filthy, Golic.
It's ridiculous. Most games, and again, he had over 10 strikeouts and no walks. 10-plus strikeouts, no walks since the mound is at its current distance. The most has been Randy Johnson at 36 times he's done that. Curt Schilling, 27. Clayton Kershaw is tied with Roger Clemens 21 times. Kershaw at the break, 14-2, a 2.18 ERA, average of 10.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. The only other pitchers to have basically those numbers at the break, Sandy Koufax, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson. Koufax in 65, Martinez in 99, and Randy Johnson in 2000. So those guys did it in back-to-back.
Is that good company?
Years. That is just ridiculous. And because Kershaw pitched last night, he will not be part of pitching in the All-Star game. And I have zero issue. Green and I talked about that a bit last week. I have zero problem with that.
None.
Zero at all. I don't think any less eyes are going to be watching that game because now would it have been nice to see Kershaw throwing against Judge? Absolutely, it would have been cool to see. But I don't think it hurts the game one bit.
I completely agree with you because, one, those games, regular season games, are a little bit more meaningful than the All-Star game, even though the All-Star game still, for some stupid reason, does decide home field for the World Series, which is a topic for and a conversation for another day. But I'm with you. I mean, because of interleague play now, Golic, we get to see those matchups.
Right. Yep.
Now, would it have been on a highlighted stage and a much grander stage? Yes, it would have. But that win, last night, means a little bit more than him pitching an inning or two in the All-Star game.
By the way, their 61st win. Houston got their 60th win. Those are your two top teams in either league right now.
Both of those guys, both those squads are just absolutely dominant.
Yep.
Off the top.
Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer seek to reach another Grand Slam quarterfinal in separate matches Monday at Wimbledon. Another collision course that we talked about, Stanton and Judge. I think we all want to see these two guys go at it again.
They're in separate sides so they can meet in the finals. As far as Nadal, having won his last 28 completed sets in Grand Slam play, only Roger Federer at 36, McEnroe at 35 have more than Nadal sits there at 28. And as far as Federer, he's looking to reach his 50th Grand Slam quarterfinal. He is the leader in that at 49 right now. Jimmy Connor's next at 41. So these two guys, incredible players that they are. Certainly people are looking to see them meet in the finals, but there's Andy Murray that's sitting there, obviously, as
a number one seed.
Yeah, exactly.
What Federer is doing right now at his age.
And doing the rest thing. Rested through the French Open. No, he's not that clay. Well, he rested through it. I mean, he's certainly had some success on the clay, but we know what Nadal has done on the clay. But certainly Federer has had success on the clay. But with his age now, doing that rest thing, saying I'm going to rest through these to look forward to these other events, seems to be working pretty well.
Off the top.
Sixers rookie Markelle Fultz out for the rest of Summer League with an ankle sprain. I hear a lot of people, Mike, saying that these guys should not be playing in the Summer League. Maybe the lottery type of picks. I think that's ridiculous. That's like saying that you shouldn't play at all in NFL preseason games. These guys are getting acclimated to the NBA and the speed of the NBA, and they're going up against their peers, the best of the best, to get ready for their transition to the next level. Just because he twisted his ankle, he's going to be fine. He sent out that tweet also.
Right.
The Sixers are saying, yes, it's not as bad as it seemed early on. I think it's absurd to say these guys shouldn't play.
I think the context of the 76ers and Ben Simmons missing all of last year and Joel Embiid missing, playing 30-some games in 3 years, goes into that equation. People thinking, oh, my God, they're snake-bitten. And then, okay. And then, by the way, should these guys play? They absolutely should play. How much you want to play them is up to you. But because, remember, this Summer League, and we're going to get more into the Summer League. Shockingly enough, 18 years of the show, we've never talked Summer League, and now it seems we're going to.
Seems.
But yeah. But they're not even playing against the top talent. But they need to. They need the progression. You can't just sit them out and then all of a sudden have your first game be in the NBA against the stars and the starters of the NBA, which is not in the Summer League. They need that progression. They need to get acclimated. So I think it's crazy to say, oh, yeah, let's sit these top guys out.
Off the top.
ESPN report from the undefeated Mark Spears. David Griffin withdraws from the Knicks GM search. He turned away the opportunity because he and the Knicks, Golic, couldn't agree on a role.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Stephen Mills was running the show. As Phil was the president, Mills was the GM. Mills is making the decisions, and David Griffin basically, if he was going to take this job, wanted control. This was a control thing. We didn't hear anything about lowballing and numbers. I don't even know where it got to as far as that's concerned. David Griffin wanted to bring in his staff, wanted to run the show. And he's not going to get that, so he said, I'm not going to be part of this. So here we are at the Knicks again, still searching.
And that is
Off the Top.
Brought to you by Zepa. Go to Zepa.com. That's Zepa.com, ZYPPAH.com, and get a Zepa so you can stop snoring and enjoy the summer. And go. Let's continue with that conversation right there. I think it was a smart move by David Griffin to turn down any role with the New York Knicks. That thing is beyond a dumpster fire. That is fully inflamed. And if you weren't going to be able to do what you want to do as general manager or whatever title they were going to give him, then I think it is a smart move on his part not to chase a job, because that is the only job that is available right now in the NBA. I think it was brilliant for him to say, you know what, thanks, but no thanks.
This guy was going to have – well, first he was denied permission to talk to Orlando. There were 3 jobs available that he wasn't going to talk to, and when he would go to those teams, he was going to be in charge. His next job he gets, he's going to be in charge of the organization. So to go to the Knicks, which is a dumpster fire right now, and say, oh, yeah, you can be here, but you won't even be in charge of it. Why would he want to do that? I have no idea why he would. Stephen Mills is running the show, so that's fine. So now you're going to get – if you're going to make Stephen Mills the president of this, remember, again, Phil was the president. If Stephen Mills is going to run it and now you're going to bring in a GM, you're going to get some assistant GM that none of us know, that people in the basketball world will know who these people are. We're not going to know them. It's going to be a name, I believe, in my opinion, that we won't know as the average basketball fan who it is, because they're not going to have power. Who has ever had power at that position will want to go to the Knicks and try and rebuild what's going on there, and, oh, by the way, not have as much power as you've had somewhere else. Not going to happen. So they're going to get a rising assistant general manager somewhere, or somebody even possibly lower than that, who's going to take that job, who's not going to have power, and going to start their career to be groomed as kind of a GM to go either there or eventually, probably, I would say, like most do, go somewhere else. So that's who, in my opinion, they're going to get.
Good enough for my man Hembo here. Under James Dolan, since 1999 as the owner, the Knicks have had 11 head coaches and 8 general managers, soon to be 9. Their last general manager, Phil Jackson, sent out a tweet, was it yesterday or the day before, of him in his Montana abode with his feet propped up and the picture was his feet in a view of the lake and the mountains.
That was it. No words, right?
No words. That was it. Like, I am done, out of here, see you. And this was a great note from Darren Rovell. He was the GM for just over 1,200 days.
Yep.
He made over $50,000 a day to fail miserably, and his response was a picture of his big old busted up feet with the lake and the mountains in the background. And
not to relive that again, but the disheartening thing there, and we're all giving our opinion about that, is what was the effort level put into it? From Phil, and that's what you,
the scouting and everything else. Yeah.
The term that I use, he was money whipped into this. Didn't really want to do it, but then was offered so much money. How do you turn it down? And then once you sign, you hope for a professional, output, from that person. And that's the thing that's a bit disheartening is, did you get that from Phil? I'm sure Phil will tell you yes. A lot of people will tell you no. And then, I mean, that tweet, you're right, says it all.
I stole $50,000 a day.
Yeah. The only thing missing there was something that had the address on it to say, these are where the checks are coming for the next 2 years, while my feet are up looking at the lake.
And if you're also David Griffin or whomever else is coming in and you see what the Knicks just did and Stevie Mills signing Tim Hardaway Jr., not Tim Hardaway circa 1995-96 with the Miami Heat, but Tim Hardaway Jr. to $71 million in take-home money, and the Hawks could match it. But you think the Hawks, when they saw that, they're going, is that a 7 or a 2?
What the Hawks were talking about?
7?
I think the Hawks were talking about offering about 48, and here the Knicks are with $71 million. Listen, here's the thing about it: you have the money. This league, as we'll get into, they are flush with money, so they can pay this. And this is the way the Knicks are going to have to get players. They're not getting big-time free agents, so they're going to have to build through the draft and then making moves if you really want someone to overpay to get them. The bottom line, we'll see what Hardaway can do in his second stint now there. I have no idea what he will. But going back to David Griffin, why would he stay? Why would a guy who's in control somewhere want to go somewhere, especially in New York, and not be in control? Stephen Mills is running the show. They'll get some underling somewhere and hire him to be under Stephen Mills.
On that very note, here's our Ian Begley on why David Griffin walked away from that opportunity to run the Knicks or be with the Knicks.
Well, it came down to autonomy on basketball decisions, and for David Griffin, it was his ability to hire his own staff here, and that's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Steve Mills is in place for the Knicks right now, and I'm told that Steve wanted to continue to make basketball decisions, to have a say in basketball decisions here in New York, and David Griffin wasn't into that. He wanted full autonomy. He wanted the final say on basketball decisions. That was one of these sticking points here. And the other one was, Steve Mills has a staff under him, and David Griffin wanted the freedom to bring his own guys in, which is what happens when a GM or president comes in from the outside. But the Knicks kind of pushed back on that.
So, two things. First, I can completely understand why he's not taking that job and why it's going to go to somebody who's just rising up. I mean, the writing is on the wall there. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and I think to think any differently at this point is ridiculous. Just find a promising young guy who's going to want a job, and bring him on, because that's where it's going to go. And second, will anybody associated with ESPN pronounce Adrian Wojnarowski's name correctly? Okay? I mean, we could put a string together.
I saw your son tweet about that the other yesterday.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
There's about 16 different pronunciations.
Oh, do you know how to say it?
Adrian Wojnarowski.
No. Here it is. I'm going to make it. And
there's a video actually out of the way to pronounce his name.
Now, you could just go Wojo and do it that way.
Which is what I normally do.
Right.
Because I have that southern accent anyway that butchers everything.
I'm going to make it easy for you. This is the way Hembo taught me. The word war. Say it.
War.
War. And something I know you like to drink, gin.
I'm a Tito's guy, but go ahead.
Give it.
Or gin.
Owski. Put it together.
Warjanowski.
Hey, there you go. Warjanowski. Is that correct, Hembo? That is. Words and out.
Let me had to check.
Well, I just want to make sure.
Just want to make sure.
But it's amazing the different pronunciations we heard for this guy's name being butchered everywhere. It's just amazing.
By us.
Yeah, exactly.
By the teammates. Mike and Mike is presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny here with Golic. You can save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive. One other NBA note, James Harden just got extended, and he got paid. 4-year extension, 6 years total now, $228 million in take-home cash. And the Rockets are looking to try and get Melo also from the Knicks. That's going to be hard quickly, Golo, to make that money also match up if you want to bring him in. Yeah,
and listen, at this point, we've talked about with Melo. Melo would be a piece of a puzzle, certainly. So Chris Paul, James Harden, Carmelo Anthony makes him, I think, a better team. Chris Paul certainly did as well, and Melo, the shooter that he can be. And that's where Houston is. You know, it's not a great defensive team, but they're going to shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. Do I think in a matchup with Golden State? And that's all we're doing right now in the West, right? Okay, here's your team. Here's what you did. How do you match up against Golden State? They're still not as good as Golden State, but it was hard to think that any one team was going to do enough in this one offseason to say all of a sudden, that's a team that's going to beat Golden State now. But credit Houston, they're giving it a go. Mike D'Antoni, their head coach, is going to join us at 9:30 Eastern this morning. So that's the one thing you have to say about them. They're getting after it. They're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, not only just this year, but to keep going forward.
Mike D'Antoni coming up in the final hour of the program on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. One quick note from Darren Ravel. James Harden will make $570,732 per game.
Per game, and there's 82 of them
per game. That is in that last year of that contract in 22-23. Per game.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Guys don't really talk about antiperspirant. Despite that, 91% of Dove Men Plus Care users recommend it. Here's what they said.
It blocks the, perspiration, I think is the fancy word. It's comfortable. It smells nice. My girl likes the smell.
Well, it's hard. I think it's quite masculine. My underarms aren't the worst thing at the gym.
It's kind of like the Hoover Dam from my armpits, I guess.
Dove Men Plus Care antiperspirant. Tough on sweat, not on skin.
Lucas writes in, guys, I heard you talking earlier, NBA lottery picks, like especially the top 5, shouldn't play in the Summer League games. There is NBA preseason for them as well. Summer League is for players on the roster bubble. Look, Golic, I get that, but you can get hurt walking your doggy.
Sure you can. These guys play basketball all the time. If Fultz, and this is again because Markelle Fultz for the 76ers, the top pick in the draft, rolled his ankle. He'll be out another week or so it wasn't an awful sprain, but he's done for the rest of the Summer League, and we know the injuries, and I think it really compounds because you look at the 76ers and you're like, my God, what's going on with them? But, I mean, if he wasn't playing in the Summer League, he'd be playing basketball somewhere. That's the one thing. These guys play all the time. So, and I understand the argument. I think my son I did a good job of explaining kind of Summer League to preseason. In the Summer League, now you are playing with guys who are probably not going to be on the team, so guys that a lot of times aren't going to be in the right place they're supposed to be in, maybe more collisions than you need to have. It can kind of be like the later part of an NFL preseason game. A lot of those guys won't be on the team.
Game 4.
But a lot of that is all those guys are together who may not be on the team playing against one another. Here, you're basically talking about a guy you're going to rely on, a top pick, playing with players like that. But there is a difference obviously inherently with injury in football and basketball. And like I said, if Fultz wasn't playing in this Summer League, he'd be playing basketball somewhere. That's different than football. You wouldn't just be arbitrarily playing football somewhere. You'd be training for it, but you wouldn't have your pads on and be hitting and playing in actual games. These guys would be playing. So I disagree. Now, if you want to limit some of their time, that's fine. We're going to obviously talk a lot about Summer League and and Lonzo Ball and what he's done and some of the other top picks, you can see where Tatum and Jackson and Fultz, now Fultz got hurt, but he was averaging about 20 points a game before that. These guys are playing in the 30s of minutes a game. You want to limit some of that? That's up to you. That's fine. But I definitely think these guys should be playing.
To your point about guys playing, I remember when I was with the Utah Jazz Radio Network and Raja Bell was going to the Suns. And so he phones into the show, and we were talking to him about leaving. And before he came on, I said, where are you? He said, I'm just about to go play in a pickup game. And then he says, but don't say that on air.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be playing, so don't say that on air. But to your point, these guys are playing nonstop. So if you're going to play, you might as well be playing for the organization in an actual game if you are going to be on a court somewhere. All right, Golic, this one I know has drawn a lot of your peers off sides, current and former NFL players, and that is what these NBA players are getting in guaranteed cash. And look, over a 2-day period, NBA owners paid out over $1 billion at the start of free agency. And a lot of NFL players, current and former, like Terrence Knighton took to Twitter after the Harden extension and just went off about how NFL guys should be paid more in guaranteed cash. But, Mike, this is simple math, is it not?
Yes, it is. One tweet out there, NFL makes billions a year. Time to get back to the negotiation table. And this time we need to stay strong and not budge, make them pay. All right. So the simple math that Ian talked about, let's do a little bit of that. And these are under current systems. Now, a lot of the talk is in 2021. That's when the next CBA negotiations will go on. Does the whole system need to be changed? But under the current system, this is why you're seeing that money in football that you are in basketball. Let's go by percentages of revenue. I'm not going to make this difficult at all. There's one big piece of pie, okay? And it gets divided up. Players get X amount of the revenue. The owners get the rest, okay? So in football, you basically have they made about $13 billion. The players get anywhere from 47 to 48%. So go 47.5%, okay? Cut it in the middle. That means amongst the 1,700 players, the players split $6.2 billion, okay? So 6.2, 1,700. The NBA took a monster jump in revenue with the new TV contract, almost a 50% jump. The revenue this year may be in the area of $8 billion. $8 billion. So the NBA players get 51% of the pie. So 51% of $8 billion is $4.2 billion. NFL, $6.2 billion. NBA, $4.2 billion. NFL, 1,700 players. NBA, 450 players. I mean, that's part of the simple math right there, as far as where the money is going to go. Now, throw in the cap, which in the NFL is going to be, $167 million. And that's a hard cap. You cannot go over it.
No luxury tax.
At all, nothing. In the NBA, it's $99 million, but they can go to $119 million. That's when the luxury tax kicks in. But basically, it's a soft cap because you can go over it and just pay the luxury tax so guys can get paid more. So that's another advantage to NBA players. So the math isn't going to add up for the NFL players under the current system right now. And I'm not one of these guys that's moaning about it. I'm not one of the old guys, now these aren't, forget old guys, these are current guys who are seeing the money. Remember us old guys who are watching all the new current NFL guys make way more than we ever made. But I'm not one of those guys that sits there and complains about that. I'm happy for Derek Carr for signing for $125 million. I'm happy for these guys making that money. And you know what? While people are complaining that the guy you have no idea who he is in the NBA is making $80 million, I'm saying, great, do it, man. If that league is that flush and that league works for you to make that, more power. Sign in blood, man. Sign it, make your money, enjoy it. I am all for that right now. And so I don't know where the difference is going to be. The NBA, remember, they have to spend 90% of that cap money. They have to. In the NFL, it's 89%, but here's where it starts to get a little, and I don't want to get in the weeds too much. It's 89%.
Oh, you got me in there.
89% of the cap, okay, that they have to spend, but it's over a 4-year span. So they could be under that 89% at times, but then they'd have to be over it to hit the average. So it's not going to work. So everybody keeps talking about 2021 and negotiating time, is the players have to stand strong. Man, I don't see it. I don't see this thing change. If you're talking about players standing strong and players who, by the way, in 2021, many of them aren't even in the league right now. And many of the guys in the league right now in 2021 won't be in the league at that point. So you're talking about NFL players need to be ready for 2021. You're talking about a percentage of those 1,700 players right now who will be nowhere near the NFL when 2021 hits. So they won't have a say in it. So you're waiting for guys to get in the league who will be there in 2021 to have a say in it. And then you're going to ask them to miss time if they have to, miss money. And that's where it comes, Ian. That's where it comes. When all of a sudden you're not getting a paycheck, how long are you willing to sit out? That's the difficult part. And players are at a disadvantage because their pockets aren't as deep as the owner's pockets. 87, I was in that strike. Okay? We struck 4 replacement games. We had our cause. One guy crosses. Another guy crosses. Big name guys crossing. Big name guys. As soon as that first guy crossed, we were done. Done. It was just a matter of time. And the owners knew it. So to think that if they can all stay firm and hold, that would be great. I would love to see it as a former player, players be able to do that. Very difficult to do, to try and change the system, because a lot would have to change. You're never going to get this money. And if you want guaranteed contracts right now, if it's going to happen, Ian, they would have to be short contracts. They would have to be 2, 3, 1-year deals. That's it, as far as guaranteed money, because there'd be way too much dead money sitting around with injury or players not performing, and then because you have that hard cap. So if you're going to work this out, a lot would have to be done. But for players, just need to understand, to just sit there and say we should be making more money, I get it, but it's not that simple, and it's unfortunately not going to be that simple, and you're never going to see contracts like you're seeing in the NBA or baseball unless the system completely changes.
All right, your simple math is Notre Dame math.
Yeah.
I think you brought up Euclid at some point in the Pythagorean theorem.
Did you not understand
my
any of
simple
that?
math of 6.5 years of undergrad, right? It took me to get out is 53 players, probably playing 60 overall in a season, 60 to 63, versus 15 guys, are paying around 17 to 18 players in an NBA season. That's my simple math.
Well,
60 versus. Yeah.
To give you that number on that, if you divide that, the 450 players into 4.2 billion.
We got division.
Okay, that comes out to 6.6 million per player. In the NFL, you do the same thing, it comes out to 3.2. So it's half. It's half. I mean, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get that money. And if you do and go for guaranteed contracts, there's going to have to be either really short contracts or other things are going to have to change, like the cap and things.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Before we get back into some interesting
numbers,
statistics involving Steph Curry and Tom Brady, this one might just make you spontaneously combust. You have a very, very cool SB experience coming up.
Yeah, Wednesday we have the auction that we have on radio here, and it's an incredible day filled with some great stories of people and their fights with cancer, and obviously some horrible stories as well, and the money that the V Foundation raises every year. And we have a lot of experiences out on ebay.com/ESPN right now up for a few more days. And one of them is the show when Greeny and I are done. It's going to be Trey Wingle, myself, and my son Mike will sit in on the show every day for a time as well. We are auctioning off to come to see our show live, hang out here, watch how the show is done, hang out with the producers, hang out with us, get a tour of ESPN, and then there's going to be a barbecue afterward. And the barbecue was going to be here at ESPN, but my son Mike, in his youthful exuberance, said, let's have the barbecue at my house. So we're going to all trek over to my son's house and trash his house. By the way, he's got an air hockey table. This is what happens when you're 27 and single and have a home. Instead of a dining room table in your dining room, you have an air hockey table. So there's going to be air hockey.
I respect you know what out of that.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Obviously a grill out back, and so you'll come here, see the show, check out how it's done, get a tour of ESPN, and then we'll go barbecue at my son's house. Again, ebay.com/ESPN for that experience and so many others as well.
Golic Jr. at 27 and single is doing what Wooderson told him to do.
Yeah.
LIVIN, man. Just living. Just keep living. Never hockey, a table instead of a dining room table.
Yeah,
I respect that on very many levels. Let's get to Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. Steph Curry is set to make over the next 5 years $200 million. Now, we're talking about the NFL players continuing, current and former, to complain about what they make compared to the guaranteed take-home coin that NBA players are now making. Terrence Knighton, the latest one, who just retired from the NFL, sounding off on Twitter about the guaranteed cash for NFL guys compared to the NBA. Steph Curry's 5 years, $200 million. Tom Brady, in his entire career, and all of those rings that he's won as the quarterback of the New England Patriots, has made in 17 seasons as the quarterback and one of the best to ever play the game, just south of what Steph Curry will make in just 5 seasons. Steph, $200 million. Tom Brady, just south of $200 million in 17 years. He's just at like 196 point whatever in change. That's 17 years versus 5.
Yeah.
But Tom Brady, I think, would be the first to tell you he's had a pretty good run.
Oh, listen, nobody
– pretty good shift, as the hockey guys would say.
We're giving you these numbers, and nobody out there listening is going to feel sorry for anybody saying, oh, my God, that's ridiculous, and Tom Brady's being treated unfair. That's crazy. Tom Brady has made great money. Tom Brady has taken less in contracts because of the hard cap every year to help the team have more money to be able to get players to help win those championships. Nobody should feel sorry for anybody. This is a sport right now. And it's also the CBAs that you collectively bargain. So both sides are at the table, and you have a chance to bargain for what you want to bargain for. And in any negotiation, what happens is both sides decide what's the main thing they each want to fight for, and then you decide how much you want to fight for it. That's what it comes down to. For the NFL, it's what 32 guys want from the players. It's what they're supposed to get from 1,700 players, kind of a positive feedback of the area they want to go. And it's what you bargain, and that's just in football. Obviously, the other sports as well. We always talk about that baseball seems to have the best union out there. Again, the money they're making is crazy. The top guys are making a ton of money. Now the bottom guys are making, obviously, a ton less. So there are the haves and the have-nots. In sports comparative, certainly not in life. It's still a lot of money. But this doesn't – I mean, I get it. It's just the economics of the sport. Sport grows. Sport makes money. The more money the sport makes, the more money the players are going to make. That's how it works. Again, the pie gets bigger, and you continue to split it. There's more money to split amongst the same amount of players, so the money is going to become more. Again, it can be simple math when you break it down. And the NBA right now, we're talking we of the 3 majors. If we exclude hockey right now, you're talking a 53-man roster, a 25-man roster, and a 15-man roster. And that 15-man roster, that sport is going to make $8 billion because of the TV contract.
Hence, the players are going to get more money.
They're going to make the money. I mean, so I know other people sometimes feel other players bad in other sports, but man, gang, it's the economics. Nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault at all. It's the economics of sports right now.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Citi Double Cash Card presents Tips for Working Out. Number 4, don't back down.
I'm going to increase my speed to see if you can keep up.
Running through pain to try to impress you.
Okay.
I'm barely keeping up.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone said what they meant? The Citi Double Cash Card does. It lets you earn double cash back with 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay. The Citi Double Cash Card. Double means double.
Glad you joining me for the next couple of days here. And something I want to mention real quick off the world of sports, which, listen, at the end of the day means nothing, right? We get to chat about this the money these guys are making and kind of chuckle at it's just monopoly money and so bizarre. And we talk about it. But over the weekend, and I tweeted about it a little bit, were the Warrior games. And I can't tell you how much that inspires me. I saw when it was when Hannah was there with Jon Stewart, who has been an incredible
remarkable job
ambassador for them in Chicago for the Warrior games, and they were set up at the United Center. My daughter, who's doing social media for the Bears now, they had a celebrity wheelchair game, and it was one of the Chicago Bears was in it. So my daughter was there doing stuff for social media there, and just seeing that whole surrounding, was just moved by what was going on there. And then you see the stories of these men and women who served our country and were injured, certainly physically, and then the mental side of it as well. But just how they persevered, how they've come back from it, where they were in the dark places, the human beings that were in really dark places, and how they were brought out of that and what brought them out of it. Whether it was part of that team that they were on. There was one great story, a young lady and her dog Moxie, how the dog so helps her now. The stories are incredible about really the true heroes out there, the people who serve, the men and women who serve our country, and what they go through and what they have to go through when they're injured to get back into society, and then what these Warrior games do to bring them all together and keep that team spirit and that camaraderie. So many of them are so quick to mention how they've been helped by others, about that teammate. And we always talk about that in sports. You want to rely on the guy next to you, the girl next to you, to the right and left of you, your teammates somewhere in the locker room.
Don't let the guy down next to you.
Exactly. And you hear it over and over and over with these men and women on how they came through what they did. It was always by the help of others. Certainly, their mindset has to be so strong to mentally help get them there, but they're so quick to talk about their teammates. It was very cool to watch and such an inspiration to see. That's real world stuff there. That's worth talking about, those true heroes in our country.
And you hit the exact word that I just wrote down, heroes. You want role models? Forget athletes.
Yep.
The Warriors that you see in the Warrior games, our men and women in arms that have hit to say adversity was the biggest understatement that you could come up with, and they have found a way to live a second life, and they don't want you to feel. You feel sorry for them. They'll knock your block off, man.
That's true.
They are living a second life, and man, they are the ultimate inspiration. And as you just hit the exact word that came to my mind, and that is heroes. And as you mentioned, Jon Stewart.
Yeah,
what a remarkable job out of him.
Great job. And, it hasn't been on TV all that long. And he said he was talking – it was his son's idea, actually, when John was talking about it a couple of years ago with his son. And Jon Stewart was saying, man, I wish this was on ESPN or something. And his son actually said to him, Dad, you're Jon Stewart. Call ESPN and see if they'll put it on air. And of course, that's exactly what happened because – he's Jon Stewart.
That thing in your pocket is called a phone.
Yeah.
Take it out.
You've got some yank. You're Jon Stewart. Use it, man.
And he did. And it has been absolutely spectacular.
Yeah,
Your Mike is brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com. That's Upside.com. A lot of tweets coming in before we get to the latest involving LaVar Ball. And whenever I say his name or hear his name, it's almost like fingernails on a chalkboard. But we'll touch on something he said to Magic Johnson coming up in just a moment. But Julian writes in to the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed with Golic, Simmons here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Brady versus Curry, as we were talking, if you're just tuning in, a lot of the former and current NFL players continuing to sound off on their guaranteed contracts versus the enormous amounts of money that NBA players are now getting in guaranteed cash. This comes in Brady versus Curry, meaning Tom Brady, Steph Curry. Whose Under Armour contract is bigger?
I don't know that. Isn't Curry's $200 or $300 million in that area there? I know Durant's is like $300 million.
Hembo had a great in our pre-show meeting, a good line on this. Kids don't wear cleats to school, that old adage, right?
Yeah.
I would think Curry's is bigger than Tom Brady's.
Yeah.
Tom is selling apparel. Steph's selling shoes. Shoes make more money.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. There are a lot of people tweeting in Tom Brady only plays 16 games. Steph plays 82. There's a difference right there. Again, it's more on the revenue that they share. and for the money they can make, where the math doesn't work for the players. Because in Major League Baseball, while the largest contract in Major League Baseball is bigger than anything that's gone on in the NFL, that's Giancarlo Stanton at $325 million, which Bryce Harper will break at some point. For the most part, I believe, Hembo, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the average in the NBA has to be the highest, right? Higher than baseball, yes. And just with the money they're making and the less amount of players that they're paying. So, again, it's more down to the math of it. And quickly, a little more math just to kind of give you, because there really seems to be this NFL players are mad about this. And again, I hope the next negotiation they get more of things they want. But it's still, again, in 2021 when a lot of the guys playing won't be playing then, and guys who have to deal with that time aren't even in the league yet. So that's what's kind of wild about that. And, oh, by the way, if they want to have a long-standing holdout, they need to start preparing for that now with players who won't even be in the league. So it's very, very difficult to do. But, again, as far as money, the cap this season, again, for the NFL is $167 million, okay? But the average team, because they don't have to hit the 167, the average team is spending $147 million. So they are underpaying, right, because they can. The minimum is 89% of the cap. So they're underpaying. The average NBA team is paying over the cap because they can. Because it's a soft cap and they can go to the luxury cap. So that's another thing. There's the money disparity, and then the NFL, on average, are paying less than the cap, and the NBA is paying more than the cap.
You know, I was talking to Darren Woodson about this last week on where I'm normally on Freddie and Fitz, which airs from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time here on ESPN Radio. And Woodson brought up a great point. To all the NFL players, current and former, that are complaining about all of this, you should have played basketball, is what he said. He said, if you're complaining, play basketball or play baseball. And I'll never forget when Stanton signed that $325 million contract that you just brought up. I'm on air, and Woody phones in on the hotline. And he said, would you please repeat what you just said? What did Stanton sign for? I said, $325. He said, take home money. Every bit of that's guaranteed. I said, yes. His next response, I'm calling my son right now, who played both football and baseball.
Right.
He signed a couple years ago to play for the Texas Longhorns.
Right.
Baseball. He said, I'm calling my son right now and telling him if he never wants to put on a helmet again, he's good. Yep. He should focus on baseball, and he hung up.
You know, and listen, to say that's kind of tongue-in-cheek.
It
because
is, no doubt.
Players that could do that. But a great example of that is a guy that went to Notre Dame, Jeff Smarja. Remember the wide receiver at Notre Dame played in the Brady Quinn era at Notre Dame. Smarja would have been a first-round wide receiver in the NFL. Chose baseball, and I'd say it worked out pretty darn well for him. So, you know, I don't know where this is going to go with football as far as guaranteed contracts, if that's what they want. If they want that and the current system stays the same with a cap, they'd have to be shorter in years. There's a lot to this that I don't want to sit here and try and get broken down. The math doesn't work for them right now, and we're still 4 years away from the next CBA. So that's a long way away. But while football is seeing all this, they're seeing these basketball players get more money after more money after more money. The bottom line is the sports are flush in money. They are flush in money right now, thanks a lot in part to the TV contract, especially in the NBA, which jumped the revenue about 50% this year. But they're flush. Things are going well in sports right now, and professional athletes are making a lot of money for it.
Well, Mike Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. You're on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. And one guy who's set to make a lot of money and could be making more money if he had a shoe contract, and that is Lonzo Ball, who had triple-double in his second game in Summer League play. But LaVar Ball is also back in the news because of something Magic Johnson once said. The great Magic Johnson, obviously now calling the shots for the L.A. Lakers, drafted Lonzo Ball, and number 2 overall. He went to the team that his dad said would be the only team that he would play for. And Magic Johnson said LaVar told him that all of his antics were for just to market the brand, the Big Baller brand, and that was it. This was as Magic Johnson told our Ramona Shelburne. I would say this to LaVar Ball. One, I do agree that it was a lot to do with marketing.
Completely agree.
But it was bad marketing.
Horrible marketing.
You cost your son millions of dollars because he does not have that shoe contract. If he's with Under Armour right now, you know, or any other Nike, Adidas, he's making millions of dollars right now before he plays NBA game number 1 in a shoe contract. because of your marketing, because of the way you positioned it, you did a pathetic job in marketing your brand. Has he sold 500 pairs of shoes?
See, that I don't know. And, they're going to have their reality show on Facebook, which is doing a couple of shows. So, there are going to be those. And listen, to a point, LaVar Ball has gotten what he has wanted. He's gotten the attention for the brand. He's got the attention enough to where the family will have a reality show. What that will bring them, I don't know. I think everybody sees the Kardashians and say, we want to do that, and basically, get people throwing money at us, which is what is happening to them, and market it. Lonzo Ball, going back to the basketball part of this, when have any of us ever talked about Summer League basketball? So to that point,
18 years on this show, how often have you talked Summer League?
That is a lot on LaVar Ball. LaVar Ball was out trying to get attention, and he got the attention. Without question, he got the attention. Now, there's the question of, okay, you got the attention. What happens with that attention? The attention, here's how I break it down. Yeah, you definitely got the reality show. That's great. You're marketing for your baller brand. I'll get into that in a second. So what is the attention doing? Well, it does nothing for your kids from a playing standpoint, right? They're going to play how they're going to play, whether it's the first kid, the second kid, or the third kid. How far they get is going to be on what they do on the court. The youngest is going to be a junior in high school, the middle of freshman at UCLA, and Lonzo obviously in the NBA. They're going to set their own rate by the way they play. But we are watching the Summer League because LaVar is sitting in the stands, and all the focus was on Lonzo, who had a tough first game and a triple-double in the second game, which, again, that's Summer League. Guys are going to be bagged. The guys are going to get better. I wish nothing but the best for Lonzo Ball. Seems like a good kid. I don't know him.
You have to separate the two, LaVar and Lonzo.
How could you sit there and wish bad? And some people are doing it. They're wishing bad on him because of his dad, and that's a shame. Because, Lonzo didn't do anything in all this. The kid goes out and he's balling. That's what he's trying to do. And now to get to your point, and this is what I said all along. LaVar, with talking the way he's talked, saying his kid is better than this, his kid is better than this, our shoes are this, our brand is this, our brand is that. Number one, to me at least, he's become white noise, irrelevant to me. I don't care what he says anymore because he just shoots his mouth off to shoot his mouth off. Nothing in my eyes relevant comes out of his mouth anymore. Whether he's ripping this person, ripping that person, but he has an effect. He cost Joel Embiid $10,000, or Joel Embiid cost himself $10,000 by saying, F LaVar, and he got fined for that. So certainly other people are hearing it as well. But it's white noise to me. And at the end of it all, if he is marketing, then it's going to come down to, if people think it was successful in marketing, how well is the company doing? What are their sales? Have they gone up? Is it successful? What will this reality show do? And that's what I don't know. It doesn't sound like – I think he's done a horrible job marketing. I agree with you. And that has been my point all along. I'm not going to sit there and call the guy a bad father. I don't know him as a father. His kids don't talk a whole lot, but they seem to have a fine relationship. And I'm not there. I don't know. But I'm not going to call somebody a bad father. Not a chance I would do that to him. But – I'll just take it from the marketing side of a business. I think he's did a horrible job marketing. Horrible. From the price of the sneakers to how he's going about getting, they say any publicity is good publicity, and I think that's true to a point. At the end of the day, sales, if he says it's all about marketing, then sales will be the final grade for him. Just like his kids, their basketball will be the final grade for them, how well they play. That will be the final grade for LaVar. What do you get out of it? What does your company get out of it? And that still remains to be seen. From what I at least hear and understand and read, the shoes aren't selling. I don't know that for a fact, but all I can do is read reports. It's not like I have somebody, in the company that's feeding me the information. No. So we'll see. We'll see where it all goes from here. But the dude markets, it's interesting. I thought the second game they were interviewing Magic Johnson at halftime, and the last thing Magic Johnson said was about when they were asking about LaVar is they said, Lonzo's in the NBA right now. He's a professional. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. He said, I think LaVar will understand to take a step back now. So
that was the nice part right there.
Kind of Magic's kind of message to take that step back. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Is this Magic delivering a message not just to LaVar but everybody? That part is over, but I'm curious to see if he can keep quiet once the regular season gets here.
I don't think he'll ever keep quiet. And you know what? I don't expect him to. He's marketing his brand out there. As I said, I don't think the marketing is very good. But, if you're marketing a brand, the way to market is to market it and be out there somehow, some way. So, maybe the comparisons will stop, but it hasn't they're taking the Lakers to the playoffs. Book it. His kid is already going to be the rookie of the year. I mean, at some point, Dad comes in and Dad just can't help himself.
He's Golic. I'm Fitzsimmons here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's get to fill in the blank, brought to you by Mahindra Tractors and Utility Vehicles. Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. Up first, Mr. Golic, the athlete in any sport most deserving of a $200 million contract is?
Any team willing to pay it. Listen, I mean, you want me to pick LeBron?
That's what I would do.
LeBron.
Because look at the value
Bryce
of the Cavs.
Harper.
The value of the Cavaliers went from like $400 million to over $1 billion. So
I mean, Kershaw's already Hembo over $200 million, right? I mean, Clayton Kershaw's deal. I mean, some of these guys are already there, but LeBron would be the first name that comes up. But that's my answer to all this. Oh, that guy's not worth that. He's not. Team offered it to him. Hardaway Jr. isn't worth $71 million.
Spoken like a true former player.
Yeah. I mean, they put the contract in front of you. They said, at least to us, we value you at this price, even though we may think we're overpaying you, but we're still going to pay you that. You sign it, you're worth that.
Number 2, and fill in the blank, Mark Cuban saying the Mavericks wouldn't be rebuilding in the East is?
True. Even though you may not like him saying that, he said, look what we're doing in the West, obviously. Everybody's trying to – it is much more competitive or better teams in the West.
It's been that way for years.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
now
cyclical.
even more so now.
And it'll be cyclical. It'll change again.
But to me, laughable.
You know,
laughable.
That's true? Would he have to rebuild as much if he were in the East to get out of the East?
One – it's never going to happen. That's why I mean it's laughable. And 2, they have been trying to rebuild since the 11 title team. Mr. Cuban, remember you busted that thing up.
Yeah,
you busted up the band after you won the Larry O'Brien in 2011 to implement the Hope Plan. They were hoping to land a big fish.
Right.
They have not. They've caught a minnows. That's it. They haven't.
You're right.
They've never gotten a big-time free agent. They don't value the draft. And this may be for the first time since Dirk. 19 years ago, they might finally have a star in the draft in Dennis Smith Jr. out of NC State.
Oh, I like that kid. Wow.
But they've never taken the draft seriously. They've always tried to build in free agency.
Right.
And it's for him to say,
free agents.
And then he's, the whole, I'm going to kidnap Adam Silver and I'm not turning him loose until he puts us in the East. Come on, Cubes.
Well, I mean, I don't think he was real serious about that. But
look at the mirror.
Just the basis of the statement. Is it true, though? You'd have to do less building in the East to win, wouldn't you?
It is, but it's also take a look at the man in the mirror. The Mavs are a 33-win team right now.
Yep.
Because of decisions they've made. David Griffin pulling himself out of the running for Knicks GM is?
Smart. There are those that will say, what did he do before he got to Cleveland? And then when he got to Cleveland, do you even give him credit because LeBron was there? My point is he's had control in places, and that's the bottom line. Why would you have control in some places and then go to somewhere which is like the worst run organization in the league and not have control? I mean, why would you do that? No matter what you think of what he did in the past, he had control in places. To go somewhere where he doesn't makes no sense. If this was his last chance at a job this year, come work here for a year, be an analyst for a little bit, talk about it from the GM side of it, and then next year there'll be job openings and he'll have a job next year.
Devil's advocate, and we saw this on Twitter a lot in the first hour when we were talking about this. 3 straight NBA finals, but with LeBron.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah,
I mean, but he still was pulling the straight, even though people say LeBron was. He's making decisions there. He goes to New York, it's a step down, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So why would you do it? When you know, and eventually you're going to get a GM job somewhere, you're going to have control. Why would you go there and not have it?
And I put the exact same word, smart, because he was not able to bring in his own guys. And I think he probably also looked at Tim Hardaway Jr. Is that a 2 or 7? Oh, it's 70. Yeah. Paid him $71 million. No, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm staying right here, Pumpkin. Thank you though for the offer.
Appreciate
Good talks.
That. Yeah,
enjoyed the trip to New York. MLB's biggest star is.
Well, I mean, right now, maybe literally and figuratively, could be Aaron Judge for what he's doing right now. He's a beast. Seems like a really good guy. Again, I don't know him, but I saw that great thing he did in the park where he was interviewing people if these people knew who Aaron Judge was while he is asking him that. It was really, really kind of cool how he did that.
He dented a door with a home run.
His incredible how he's playing. So I guess right now in a vacuum you could look at him. But overall, I would imagine Bryce Harper, Mike Trout still, even though Trout's been out since May 28th. Clayton Kershaw. I mean, but as we talked about, we see this in the regular season. It's going to be the Peyton Manning thing, one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time, or pitchers of all time.
Year, he'll bust through.
All right, well.
They will.
We will.
This might be
from the legacy standpoint and the way we break things down. That's what he's going to need to do, right?
That's what I put down. Clayton Kershaw. I think he is one of, if not the biggest star in Major League Baseball. But the good thing for MLB right now, they do have a lot of young stars, and they'll all be on display All-Star Weekend. Home Run Derby coming up tonight.
Home isn't just a place; it's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
With Mike Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons. You're on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Joining us right now, our good friend Kevin Millar, World Series champion and Family Feud star now also. He joins us on the it's brought to you by Valero, top-tier certified quality fuel from Valero. Keeps engines running cleaner, better, and longer. Millar, we were just watching and listening to some of the highlights from Celebrity Family Feud last night. Well done, my friend. Well done. How fun was that?
Boys, I'm going to tell you right now, Golic, you just nailed it. It's harder than you think. When you're sitting at home with Mama and the kids and everybody's got the answers, you don't realize they take you in back before and they tell you, listen, when you hit that buzzer, you better be ready for an answer because you don't have the 10 seconds to look over there and ask old Sparky, what do you think about this one? It's 1,000, 2,000, so you panic. And I'm telling you, when Gary Payton went up there and dropped the something that rhymes with tummy and drops hummy, I'm like, what? But then you realize that it just kind of comes to your mind, and then Pedro drops to Miami. That was it. That was the game changer. Died laughing, even though I missed it last night because we were down there doing that celebrity softball game, but I heard a lot about it.
It was unreal, and for those, again, we showed it just to our TV audience, to the radio listeners out there. Kevin Millar was on with baseball legends against basketball legends, and they were at the, where you had to give the quick answer, and it was what rhymes with yummy? Was that what it was? What rhymes with?
No, what rhymes with tummy?
What rhymes with tummy? And
tummy.
Peyton hit the, and that's what I would do. I think I would hit the buzzer right away and then use those couple seconds to try and think of something. But unfortunately, Gary Payton thought of hummy to rhyme with tummy, only to be outdone. Then you gave the number one response. Then you guys decided to play, and the guy right next to you, Pedro Martinez, what rhymes with tummy? He says Miami. I mean, now the one thing I've noticed through the years of this show is no matter what answer given, you kind of clap for your teammate. All you guys laughed at him, and he deserved to be laughed at because that answer was ridiculous.
He's my favorite teammate ever now. When Clemens drilled me at my neck, he drills Jeter and Soriano. I love Pedro, but I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, as soon as it came out, I just started dying laughing, but I knew how he was because at the back, when you're going over how we're going to play, they ask for two guys in case you go to the finals, right? Well, I mean, everybody's looking at me. I'm like, no. I start pitting. Well, Prince Fielder's a fan of the Family Feud, so I'm like, Prince, you're going. Ozzie Smith, you're going. And I'll tell you right now, though, what a blast. What a blast. It was fun. Poor Muggsy Bogues, I think he hit the thing. And you could say anything and at least get an X. He hit it and didn't say a word. He just froze, and that was nothing. So the boys were making fun of him behind the scenes. I think it was, Robert Ory's like, how do you not say anything? You could say dog, and at least you get an X, but not saying anything. It was just some good stuff, boys. Good laughs behind the scenes.
Oh, it's very cool. Kevin Millar from MLB Network. You can watch Kevin and Chris Rose co-host Intentional Talk live at 5 p.m. Eastern on MLB Network and simulcast on ESPN2 today and tomorrow from Marlins Park. Before we get into the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, which we're all looking forward to, give us, from the point of view of a player, the break now, where you are. We see Houston or L.A. and Houston with the two top records. What do players think of at this break here? What is your mindset at this point of the season?
Well, if I'm with the Chicago Cubs right now, I'm like, okay, this is a perfect time to go on All-Star break. I got Lackey and I got Arrieta as my neighbors down there in Austin, Texas, so it's time for them to get on the lake, relax, take these 3 days off, and sit back. That's what's interesting. Their only All-Star representative is Wade Davis, and this is the team that won the World Series last year, and you think about it, he wasn't even with the Cubs. So that's a perfect time for a team like the Chicago Cubs that people are sitting here going, what is wrong with the Cubs? Obviously 4 or 5 games under 500. They'll be fine. I think they're still a good ball club. Obviously, last year went perfect. All 5 starters made every start. Kyle Hendricks led the league in ERA. A lot of things went on, but I still think they're a good ball club. Good ball club. A team like the Astros, I've never seen anything like this on the road. I mean, they've scored 10-plus runs on the road. They're the best road team out there. They're going to be interesting because they're going to get home field advantage. And now think about this. The Astros are going to get home field advantage, and they're going to have to elect to kick off and say, you know what, we'll play you on the road. We'll give you home field advantage because we're so dominating on the road. So that team's very interesting. They still need an arm. I'm not sold on their bullpen. They still need a left-hander. And the Dodgers, remarkable job what Dave Roberts has done out there, obviously with young guys like Bellinger and just coming up since April 25th. He's got 26, 27 home runs, whatever the exact number is. Remarkable job. But the break comes perfect time for some teams. And if I'm the Dodgers and Astros, I'm saying, can we keep playing, please?
Yeah. Kevin, what did you make of Theo Epstein's comments about how they're not going to be looking to acquire players? The current group has to play better. I thought it was a message to his club. As a former player, what did you think?
I like it because I think it's true. We sometimes love change for no reason. You got to sit back, and these guys got to check themselves in the mirror. It's the same group of guys. You have young ability. You have young talent. I just think sometimes they have too much, if this makes sense. What's the difference between depth and having too much? It seems like they've got 5 second basemen, 13 outfielders. Baez doesn't play every day. Zobrist's got to play over here. They got a kid Happ that comes up. He's got 13 home runs. You got John Jay that sporadically might be their best leadoff hitter. You have the Hayward situation. You have Schwarber's up and down. It seems like there's just a whole lot. There's only 2 guys that know they're playing, and that's Rizzo and Bryant. So it might be a situation where Joe Madden and the boys need to sit here and establish a starting lineup, and then you have your bench players. You can go from there. I just don't know if everything worked last year, but getting guys 280 at bats a year, that gets old. I mean, I like to know that I was in a lineup every day to get going, and right now it seems like they got 35 different lineups a week.
Kevin Millar from MLB Network joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Last month, we had over 1,100 home runs, 32 more than any other month in baseball history. At the break, we have more home runs than we ever had before. We're on pace to destroy the season home run record. Why are we at this point in baseball with the home runs?
Mikey, it's a great question. Obviously, every pitcher, you've got a lot more blister problems. We had Stroman go on there last week saying there's something different with the balls that's never had blister problems. That's an interesting, topic. Obviously, the juiced balls. You hear the balls tighter. It's like hitting a Tyler's Balata out there. There's a lot of guys with 17, 18 home runs at the break. You don't even know who they are. That's on pace for 35-plus home runs in the big leagues. Now, I played it wasn't that long ago, 7 years ago, and I get it. I'm white hair, look like Brett Favre when he retired from football with the beard. But there's a lot of home runs going out. You just named off the numbers and all this stuff. So are the balls a tick tighter? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Is the pitching, down the tick? Maybe. The ballparks are smaller. Every stadium's now a hitter's ballpark. Atlanta, you can blow the ball out. Gorgeous stadium. Philadelphia, you can blow the ball out. Houston, you can blow the ball out. They took away the dead center. So there's a combination of everything. maybe they're a tick tighter. Stadiums are smaller. Fans want to see home runs. You remember in 2014, when Lorenzo Cain was hitting third for the Royals, and I think he had 8 home runs or whatever it was. So it was almost a boring World Series team watching the Giants and Royals play. A couple years later, now we're seeing bombs go everywhere.
Kevin, we surveyed 100 people. Top 3 answers are on the board. The winner of the Home Run Derby will be?
Whew, God. I mean, how do you not take Stanton? I like to be like, hey, let me see Charlie Blackmon or Bellinger. I mean, but I'm sorry, guys. In person, him or Judge hits the ball further than anybody. So when you're in Home Run Derby, I'm going to take one of those guys because they don't even have to hit the barrel of the bat, and it seems like it's going upper tank.
As far as the Home Run Derby, we've heard Bryce Harper, he was in it one time, said he didn't really like it, but he's going to do it next year when it's in his home ballpark. But we always hear the argument, Kevin, of why guys don't want to do it, and they say it messes with their swing. Jose Abreu was a guy that they said it kind of messed with what he did in the second half. Is there truth to that?
Yeah, it was Bobby Abreu, the second half.
I'm sorry, that was Bobby
year.
Abreu.
Remember Detroit? Yeah. But I'll tell you this: if there's something to it for a second, I don't know if it messes with your swing. I think every day we have Home Run Derby, our last few rounds in the batting practice group. Everybody tries to launch out 10 swings. The first round you're getting them over, getting them in, all this stuff, getting loose, and the next 5 to 10 swings you're trying to hit homers. Chicks dig the lawn ball, boys. So I think by the time the stadiums are starting to heat up, you're trying to go deep. I've never been in a big league home run derby, so it's hard for me to speak to this. But if I was a manager and I have a young guy in the home run derby, and you know what, I know they do get tired because it's work. You see them sweating and they're hitting bombs and it's timed, and then you wait a little bit and then you're up next. And if you win that, maybe a day off or two. A guy like Aaron Judge, for an example, Joe Girardi, he's in the home run derby. He's doing it for Major League Baseball. Maybe you give him a day or two off as you start the second half. Let him mentally kind of get reestablished, and then you roll. Is that going to happen? Of course not. He's the best player. We need him in the lineup, and, we're chasing the Red Sox. But maybe that's something how you address it, these young guys like Bryce Harper's and Aaron Judge's, and because I would love to see Bryce in this. And I understand Bryce saying, but you know what? Next year at his home park, he'll be there.
Kevin, we always appreciate your time. Enjoy all the festivities down there at Marlins Park. And by the way, yeast in your sweet buns, that was your answer?
That was
yeast?
Yeah.
Yeast?
Yeah.
I panicked, boys.
Cinnamon, maybe?
Panicked. It's a lot harder.
I'm with you. I have a newfound respect for sitting at home saying, why did he say that? When you're there, it's got to be so different, you can tell. But, man, it looked like a lot of fun. It really did.
It was good times, boys. Plus, I'm not real smart. L.A. City Junior College a couple years, and Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas. You know how it goes.
Yeah, right there with you. 6.5 years of undergrad. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate it, man. Kevin Millar.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Coming up in a moment, we'll pretty much make fun of ourselves as to the Home Run Derby tonight and how we might fare in a competition like that at that park. But you have an awesome experience coming up for our SB auction, which is on Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesday, certainly we'll be talking a lot about different things and auctioning off things that day. But there have been things on eBay, ebay.com/ESPN for a while now, and be on for a few more days as well. A lot of different experiences out there. And the one we have, once Trey Wingo and I start our show, when Greeny and I finish up, and my son Mike Jr. will be on the show as well, we are offering, and we have up there, an experience as well where you can come in and watch the show like you've done in the past with Mike and Mike. Be here live, watch the show, be with the producer, see how everything works, and hang out with us. I'm sure on that day there'll be donuts because there's pretty much donuts here every day. So that's a plus. Get a great tour of ESPN, which, as I've always said, is like Disneyland for adults. And then there's going to be a barbecue after that was going to be here at ESPN, but my son Mike, in his youthful exuberance, said, hey, let's have the barbecue at my house. So,
does he have a dining room table?
His dining room table is an air hockey table. So we're going to play some air hockey for sure. He's got a nice grill out in the back deck. We're going to have some barbecue, and we're going to hang out at his house. We can trash his house, not mine.
When was the last time you think he cleaned his bathroom?
Oh, never. I mean, he's 27 and single. You know, well, we're going to have to make him clean it up before you come there. But that will be very, very cool. So ebay.com/ESPN is where you go for that experience, make a bid on that, and other experiences as well for another couple of days. And then obviously the auction day on Wednesday. We'll be talking about a lot of things all day there.
Number of dishes in the sink at Junior's house right now.
Yeah, you know what? I think he's actually pretty good at just reusing one all the time. Just use it and rinse it off and just keep using it. That's what I did because I went through that once when I was single and playing ball and I was in Houston. Before I got married, I remember one time
bowl, same plate?
looking over. No, one time, and I learned that because my sink was full one time. I was like, why in the hell am I using all this stuff? So I just learned when I use something, just rinse it real quick, and set it in the sink and just wait to use it again and rinse it. And then at the end of the day, you don't rinse it very well, and after a little while, it gets a little
crunchy,
yeah,
sticky.
Yeah,
I understand. Been
there,
done that.
Right.
Mike and Mike reminding you that if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Golic, you've given 4 minutes.
Yes.
You would hit how many home runs at Marlins Park? Home Run Derby tonight, ESPN.
And again,
Radio.
that's the way it is. They get 4 minutes to hit as many balls out as they want. If they hit a couple over, 440 feet, they get a bonus of 30 seconds. They do get a timeout if they want. They can get 2 timeouts if they get to the finals, but it's all timed now.
Which I think is much better.
I completely agree. Hembo told me in this park it's 344 down the left field line. I'm a right-handed hitter, and I'm a pull hitter. I would say, I'll be conservative, none.
I'm right there with
None.
you.
I
would be hoping to avoid injury.
I mean, I would pray I didn't, hurt my back. I am all upper body, and my upper body isn't that impressive. So, like when I golf, I'm all upper body. I don't use my legs. In playing in the Celebrity All-Star or softball thing we did, I'm an upper body swinger, and my upper body isn't all that strong anymore.
I did this in Dirk Nowitzki's Hero Celebrity Baseball Classic, which is a great charity in Dallas-Fort Worth at the Frisco Rough Riders ballpark, which is a great ballpark, the Rangers AA team. And so it was my turn to go up and you're trying to swing for the fences.
Right.
I think I got 2 out of the infield. And I almost hit Mike Madonna.
Well, it's his fault for being in the way.
I mean,
right?
But I fouled this thing off so badly that I can't remember which former Major League player told me, if you threw me 100 pitches, I don't think I could hit that ball at the angle that you sliced that thing off on.
So at least we're being honest about this. Me swinging the bat, if you showed it in replay, would look like slow motion. I mean, there's not a chance. I would be happy to hit it out of the infield, without question.
Infirmary. That's what would happen to me. Infirmary.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.